Good morning, guys. DJ Tommy here. Welcome. I am, you know what? I just gave up on Rumble. I just realized that Rumble was causing my OBS session to lock up. Now, I can't exactly blame it on Rumble because Rumble is the last channel that I fire off from OBS. So maybe it was just the fact that like I was trying 5 different streaming platforms and Rumble just happened to be number 5. And so when I launched it, my OBS would freeze. So that may be something in OBS in the plugin called Atom Multistream. Now it has worked before. Yesterday it worked fine. I think I had 5 streams going yesterday morning for about an hour. But this morning, when I tried 5 streams, my OBS had an hourglass. And I didn't notice because I couldn't scroll up and down in my multi-stream status window to see if they were all in fact moving or not. But looks like I'm on Twitch. Let me open up Twitch. Okay, I am live on Twitch. So that's good. Let me see if I can activate my session monitor. Okay, I'm just going to say hello in the Twitch chat from my DJ Tommy account. Okay, I see that. I'm going to go into YouTube and see if I can say hello in the YouTube chat. Hello. Okay, that's not working. So I don't understand why Social Stream is not working for YouTube. That is sort of confusing me. The live chat you are trying to retrieve cannot be found. Okay, let me turn off auto activate. And can I just delete this session here? Okay, remove source. Okay, so now if I go to stop all, I am kind of stumped here. Okay, so okay, let me deactivate Rumble. And I'm going to stop Rumble. Okay, actually, well, I don't have to delete the Rumble source. I'll leave the Rumble source. I just won't activate it because I'm not going to do Rumble until I can figure out why it's freezing up my OBS. Let's go back to YouTube and figure out why that's not working. Okay. I would share this screen, but it's showing like stream keys and stuff. And obviously, you don't want to share your stream keys to the public internet. Okay, so if I go to standard, if I go to sign in, let me just sign into my YouTube channel. Okay. I'm not sure if I remember my YouTube password. Okay. I must have got it right because it sent me a notification to the app asking if it was me. Okay, now it says, okay, so connection mode. So if I go to auto activate, now if I go to activate source, it says something went wrong. Okay. Something not right with YouTube. Okay, let me turn off auto activate. You know what's weird is it is trying to activate a video. And it's not just watching my channel. With YouTube, it's actually trying to watch a specific video. All right, let's go to standard. Let's go to sign in. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it is signed in as me on YouTube. And let's do a WebSocket. So we switch to WebSocket mode and auto activate. Okay. So I don't know what that's going to do. Let me see if I can go into YouTube and now send a message. Hello. No, it's not hearing, or it's not seeing that. Every time I do this on SocialStream, it wants me to sign in with YouTube again. It's very annoying that I have to do this every time. Like it's making it unusable. Like I really want to use SocialStream to do this. But the fact that okay, I'm going to try one more time. Hello. It's not picking it up. Oh, was that it? Okay. Is it working? Question mark. Okay. There's a delay, but okay. So Twitch, YouTube, and let me go over to Kick. Well, let me go to TikTok. Let's see if TikTok is working. Okay, I am live, it says. Greetings. Let me just type greetings from TikTok. Not seeing it. So now TikTok is a problem. So this, see, as much as I like SocialStream, the idea, if it's not going to work, I'm not going to be able to use it. Like I can't spend an hour getting SocialStream working. It's saying I'm logged in. Technically unsound. Like, I don't know what to do here. If I go auto, then if I go auto activate, connect TikTok auto, signing is being prepared. Okay. Now TikTok is showing the chat feed in my SocialStream. Okay. So there we go. So I think we're good. The only one I haven't tested is Kick, but Kick seems to be pretty reliable. I haven't had to do any troubleshooting with Kick. So I started off with 5 streams yesterday. Everything worked fine. Today, I had a problem. Rumble was locking up my OBS session. I couldn't figure out why Rumble was causing the problem. I don't know if it was an OBS issue with the plugin, or if it was some delay or some latency with Rumble, and it was just hosing up my OBS. So I've removed Rumble. So now I'm only streaming to YouTube, Twitch, Kick, and TikTok. So I'm streaming right now. I don't know what's going on with my throat. It must be this coffee. Thank goodness for my mute button on my Stream Deck. I can just mute myself and clear my throat without blowing out everyone's speakers, because it is loud. Okay, so I seem to be going out somewhat confidently on 4 platforms. I wish it were 5, but I don't know what's going on with Rumble. You know, all them right-wing people over there. They're not getting to see my stream. Too bad, right-wing people. But I guess you're just missing out on me drinking my coffee. What mug is this anyway? Oh, Atlanta. I used to do this collection of Starbucks mugs. At my job, I used to travel a lot before the coof, as they call it, before COVID. So every time I would stop in a city, I would go into a Starbucks and buy the mug of that city. And most cities that have an airport are going to have Starbucks mugs. I think I need a Ricola. So Atlanta, obviously that's like a major hub. If you're flying Delta, you're going to go through Atlanta. Charlotte, Philadelphia, what else? American has a few hubs. Chicago. So I had mugs. I had a lot of mugs, but it got to the point where we didn't have any place to keep the mugs. And it's not like I'm some avid collector thinking I'm going to sell my Starbucks mug collection in 50 years. And you can order these mugs online anyway. So it wasn't really any proof of anything because you can just go buy the mugs online. But for me, it was just my little personal thing. You know, it's like, here's some of the cities I've been to and I have a mug to prove it. But nowadays you can just buy them online, or people have offered to send me mugs. You know, it's like, hey, I live in Detroit. You want me to send you the Michigan mug? Because that's one state. I mean, I used to live in Michigan when I was a kid, but as an adult, flying in airplanes, I had never flown to Michigan or even connected through Michigan, which I think Detroit is a hub for Delta, you know, like a northern hub along with Minneapolis. But I had never flown through Michigan. So I did not have a Michigan Starbucks mug. And so, you know, people would offer to send me those things. But over time, I just had too many mugs. And so now it's just, I think we've even thrown mugs out. They start to chip, like you can see, well, you probably can't see. Well, yeah, that one's got a chip. See, they get these little chips in them because they're kind of, I don't know. I guess they're just porcelain, and porcelain cracks over there. I probably dropped it or something, and I'm blaming the craftsmanship when really, obviously, I must have done something to chip this mug. It's not like it just chipped because I was sucking too hard on a latte. Yeah, so I'm looking at myself in the stream. Do I hold my mug funny? I do hold my mug kind of funny. How should I hold this? Like, I don't know. How do I properly hold a coffee mug so it doesn't look weird on stream? I'm mug-mogging. Is that what the kids say? Why are you mug-mogging? Oh, and by the way, let me clear my throat again. I was using Restream to stream on YouTube horizontal and vertical, but I turned off the YouTube vertical stream. I know people say, oh, you should just stream wherever you can, and whatever format you can get out there, you should stream. But with I'm going YouTube horizontal. I was going YouTube vertical. Aside from TikTok, I'm just not a big fan of the vertical format. And maybe that's just because all of my OBS layouts are made for horizontal. I do have a couple vertical formats. So when I change my horizontal for my main views, like this is a host guest and I have a guest chair over here. I can kind of reach into that. So if I have a guest, they can sit over there and use the Sennheiser MKE 600 shotgun mic. And then if Like this is a guest. If I use what's called Video Ninja, I can have a guest session come in. So I have this built. And then if I have all three, or like three of us, so I have a three-way split. So I have these built in vertical and horizontal. But then when I start going to some of my other apps or my other views, like if I do the top-down shot, so this is just the top-down shot at my workstation, I don't have this built in a horizontal or a vertical feed. So those of you watching on TikTok, you don't see this right now. But if you're watching on YouTube, Kick, or Twitch, you will see the top-down shot of my workstation. And then same with my screen share. So if I'm doing a screen share, so now you can see my social stream window and my YouTube studio. So you can kind of see that now if you're watching horizontal. But if you're watching vertical, you're still on my three-way split screen with me, Ninja Guest, and In Studio Guest. And now we're just back to my main camera. And by the way, if you didn't see last week, maybe it was the week before, I had switched all of my DSLR cameras in my secondary studio, which is where I'm at now. This is my backup studio. I switched out all my cameras with OBSBot Meet 2s. So I have 3 OBSBot Meet 2s. This top-down shot, this camera here that's pointing at my auto-tune interface, that's an OBSBot Meet 2. And then this camera here that I've got pointed at my guest is also an OBSBot Meet 2. So these are all 4K 60 cameras. But I think I'm using the 4K 30 rate on these cameras. But my outbound stream on OBS is 1080p. Because at the end of the day, nobody's watching your stream in 4K. Like, that's just, 90% of people are watching your stream on their phone. And they're not watching it in 4K. If they're even looking at the screen, right? A lot of times when I'm watching a podcast, I'm not really watching it. I have my phone sitting somewhere and I'm doing house chores. I'm mowing the yard. I'm not looking at my phone. That's why having, a lot of podcasters will say, you gotta first focus on your audio quality. Make sure your audio quality is on point. Make sure that what you're saying is, meaningful and valuable to somebody. And then, focus on your visuals. At the end of the day, it's like, it's your content. It's what you have to say that is going to draw people in. Having good audio quality, having good video quality, that'll help keep people around. And a lot of times if the audio or the video quality sucks, even if you do have something good to say, you might not get the chance to say it because some people will just see a low quality stream and just move on. They're like, oh, well, this guy hasn't put any time into his production. So what could he possibly have to say that we care about? But, when I created the thumbnail for this video, I had been, I'm a DJ. And so I guess you could say I am a DJ who I do paid gigs every year, but I don't consider myself a professional DJ. I do consider myself a DJ who gets paid. But 90% of the reason why I DJ is for fun, not because I want to make money. And for whatever reason, I have a stigma with these DJs who want to make money. I just feel like I never in my life did I DJ because of money. Like DJing for me was never about money. The only time where money came into the equation is if I was DJing at an event where they wanted me to play music that really wasn't my taste. Like I DJ'd a wedding that had a swing theme. Not like a swinger theme, but like, old swing music. Because the bride and the groom, they had gone to swing dancing classes, and that was kind of like baked into their relationship, the whole swing dancing thing. And even the first dance of their wedding, they wanted it to be swing. They wanted a lot of swing music played, but they also knew that their guests would want other normal music too. But, that was one where I made sure I got paid a decent amount of money because I did have to go out and do a lot of research on swing music because I had never done anything like that before, where I'm sitting here playing swing music. Well, I guess, let me take that back. There was one other wedding that I recall now that was really far out of my forte, which was a French couple that was getting married in St. Louis. And so they had all this music they wanted of French artists. And so I had to go out, and research. And what I usually do is, it's easy to go online and say, okay, here's the artist, Francois Mitterrand. And then you go in and find all their top hits, and then you just collect as much of that as you can. And then, it'll lead you to other artists, So, if you like Francois Mitterrand, then, you'll love Jacques Cousteau. And so these are French names. These are not artists, by the way. These are just French names that I know. You may know them as well. But yeah, so then you just try to build up a little bit because when you're DJing a wedding, you don't know what someone's going to ask for, especially if it's the bride or the groom. Like and this was before the time of a whole lot of online music availability. And even, I guess, even with online music availability, grabbing French music on the fly may be a little more difficult. And back then, like now, I use Serato and I have Spotify plugged right in. Serato has Spotify directly plugged in, so I can go in and do that. Hold on a second. I'm gonna go check on the door. Be right back. I'm gonna hit my mute. Have you ever seen that video on TikTok? You know, because TikTok, let me say this nicely. There's this whole genre of content creators who all they want to do is tell you how to be a content creator and blow up. And so there's this girl, somehow she comes across my feed on TikTok, and it's an ad. Or honestly, I can't tell anymore what ads are and what aren't. But there's this girl on TikTok, and she says, my channel grew in just 8 weeks to 100,000 followers. And what's funny is she's smoking hot. You know, she's, got her blonde hair down and she's wearing a tank top or something. And she's like, I got 100,000 followers in 8 weeks. You want to know how I did it? It's like, I already know how you did it. That's what's so funny. It's like, you know what? Show an ugly girl who got, an ugly girl wearing all of her clothes. And I don't mean ugly. I just mean, don't show a supermodel dressed up, like she's going to the club and try to say, hey, guess how I got 100,000 views? You can do that too. No, we can't. I don't know. I don't know why I got sidetracked with that thought, but I think I have this. I have this pet peeve now of this genre of content creation which is just about motivation to be a content creator. And it's like, okay. And 90% of those videos, these people have no following. And when I say they have no following, they have under 1 million followers or under 1 million subscribers. Because here's the thing. If you have less than 1 million followers, you really shouldn't be trying to tell people how to gain following. Because yes, okay, maybe you have a few hundred or a few thousand, but you're nothing yet. So that whole genre needs to disappear. You're annoying. I know I'm sounding like a Debbie Downer. It's just so tiring to see that type of content, where people are just like, you too can be a content creator. Don't give up. You're on your way there. You know what? My content creation goal stems back to my childhood, to even before the internet existed. And I'm talking about like AOL didn't even exist. CompuServe didn't even exist. I always wanted to be like an anchor man. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be like the Walter Cronkite. I didn't care about the news, but I just thought, you know what, this is cool. Just you're in front of the camera and you're just saying things. When I was a kid, I just thought it was cool. And then as I'm growing up, I thought, hey, that's kind of neat, being in front of the camera. I'm not a good speaker though, especially when it comes to reading scripts. If I'm just talking about something I know about, I can seemingly talk pretty confidently, but I do have this little impediment where every few sentences I'll run out of breath. And maybe it's because I forget to breathe or something, like while I'm talking so passionately, I forget to stop and breathe. But when I'm reading, it will kind of, that'll reveal itself more. Like I'll have that an episode of where I run out of breath. And it's not like I'm going to faint or pass, like just right then. It's not like I'm going to pass out. I just have to like start over, like repeat words, things like that. This is my second cup of coffee. This is a Dunkin' Donuts K-Cup, if you're wondering. Oh no, I shouldn't use a Starbucks mug, right? But my first cup of coffee today was a Starbucks K-Cup. What's it called? Like Pikes. I forgot what it's called. Pike something. Like the little Starbucks brand. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I got this new, I have a little photography studio outside. Now, I got this picture on my phone. It's not going to be of the best quality because I just transferred it. I transferred it over to my phone. But let me send this over to my computer. Okay, here comes the picture. Okay. Let me share this screen. It's kind of dull. It's not bright. Well, let me share this. I wish it were a little brighter, but it could just be my monitor. So let's go over to the N3. This is Millie. A lot of you may know that I've had this mannequin for like a decade or more. She's wearing a Starfleet tank top, but this is Millie. We call her Millie Bobby Weird. But check out that burgundy background. That is a new roll of backdrop paper that I have out in my studio. So now I have three rolls of backdrop paper. I have a roll of white, black, and now this burgundy. And I have a triple roller on my wall. So I can switch between those three backdrops pretty easy. I guess technically I could put a permanent backdrop on the physical wall and then just lower these paper reels spools as I need them. But yeah, this burgundy, I just got the burgundy on Saturday. Well, yesterday. Got it on Amazon. And I really like this burgundy. It's a really nice color. So I'm gonna see if I can. I'm trying to teach my 17-year-old kid about flash photography because right now she's very much into just outdoor natural light, which is good. I think natural light photography is great. My oldest daughter is really like an expert. Like she's like, in this whole area of St. Louis, she's like one of the best at natural light photography. Yeah, so I have another child now that's taking an interest in photography. Yeah, so it's kind of nice. But I want her to use the indoor studio where I have my flash setup. I have like an AD. Is it an AD 600? I don't know what my flash is. It's a Godox, but it's a pretty powerful one. And I got this new umbrella for it, like this new softbox. It's massive. It's like a 80-inch softbox. And I didn't realize how big that was going to be, but I should have thought about it because if I'm like 71 inches tall, so this softbox is the same size, it's like, I think it's a 71-inch softbox actually. Did I say 80? I was just exaggerating. But yeah, so I have two flashes. I have a Godox, I have a 600, and then I have a 300 that I'm using on the right side. of this photo. So the left side is where you can kind of tell the light is brighter. And so that's where the brighter flash is with the big softbox. And then on the left side where it's a little dimmer, I just have a fill flash. And then I have a strip softbox, which is, I think it's like 4 feet high, but it's just more of like a narrow strip. But yeah, it turns out pretty well. Hold on, I have some photos. Where are the photos I have with the black backdrop? Let me find it. Maybe it's on my other screen. Where are they? Did they get minimized? Hold on. Oh, here we go. Is it one of these? No. One of these? Nope. No, I cannot find it. Oh yeah, there it is. There's me. I took a, see? So that's me in the studio with the black backdrop. So that's pretty nice. It's just some basic flash photography. Nothing fancy. But it is a nice clean setup. So, if the outdoor conditions don't permit for my daughter to do an outdoor photo shoot, she can invite people into the studio and then they can do, some different colored backdrops. And that way she doesn't have to always worry about the weather. But she does she does photo sessions out at some really nice parks and lakes in the area. But yeah, sometimes outdoor just doesn't work, or maybe it'll get too hot or the light will be too bright. Oh, hey, let me switch. Can't see here. Latasha. Oh, it's I think it's a bot. I don't have Discord though. Sorry. No Discord for me. I need to look into Discord though, but I don't have Discord right now. I think my kids do, but I've never tried it. I should look into Discord. Yeah, so I have a little photography studio outside, along with my main podcast studio is out there too. Obviously, it's a huge converted garage where I can have 2 studios in one place. But the podcast studio takes up most of the room, most of the space. But I do have a little corner for my photography studio. And the camera that I have set up out there is a Sony A7R5. So that's kind of like my flagship, my best camera I have out there. What is that, like a 61 megapixel? And I got the Sigma 50mm f1.2 lens on there. So like for my photography, I guess that's kind of where I spend the most money, even though I really do very little photography. But when I do it, I want it to be good. So yeah, it's kind of like no expenses spared on my photography hobby. And plus, I have bad eyesight. So the fact that I have bad eyesight means I need a camera to kind of help me out. So I need a camera with good autofocus so that when I take pictures, they're not totally blurry. That used to be the case where I would do a photo shoot, and in the little view screen on the back of the camera, everything would look great. So I'd say, "Oh yeah, let me go touch these up in Lightroom, and I'll send you, like a half dozen of these photos, and just to get you started with some socials." Then I'd get home, and I'd blow them up on the screen, and they would just be ever so slightly blurry, like fuzzy eyeballs, and it's like, oh, this looks so good on the back of the camera. And then you get home and it's just like, looks terrible. And not terrible, but terrible enough. You know, it's just like, ugh. Like I gotta like figure out some way to sharpen these so that when I send them to, and I've never been paid for a photography gig. So it's not like, you know, I'm not going to lose any sleep over taking some blurry photos. If I ever got paid, you know, then I would probably find a way to not take blurry photos. But I guess now that I have this Sony a7R5, well, it's not new. I think it's going on 2 years now of having it, but hopefully my photos will be a little sharper. And with 61 megapixels, you have some room to work. You know, like you can kind of fake sharpen, I guess. What I used to do is I would just make the background very blurry. Like I'd artificially blur the background with like an ellipse mask, and then anything outside of the ellipse, I would add blurriness to it, and then do kind of an inward gradient. So the inner part of the ellipse would be sharp or normal, and then the outer part of the ellipse would get blurrier. So it gives you that perception that your subject is sharper than it really is, because you've made the outer portion, the non-subject background, you've made it blurry. I was just looking at the title of this video. It's called DJs Always Argue Online. DJs Always Argue Online. You know what inspired that title is I was looking at, what's happening here? Why did I lose my, there we go. My TikTok like switched over to someone else's video. Whenever because I'm a DJ, I see a lot of DJ posts on different social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. But really, specifically on Facebook, like DJs will post their setups. And I may have done this once or twice. DJs will post their setups, and other DJs just can't wait to get in there and criticize the setup. Now, I do have one type of setup that I'm always going to criticize. I will always criticize a setup where a DJ is using a tripod style speaker stand or light stand. You know, the stand where it's got the three legs that stick out. Guys, that's done. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. You should be using a solid base stand, like a Chave Flex stand or a gravity stand. Using a tripod style speaker stand in 2026 just tells me that you don't keep up on technology and you don't care about how your presentation looks. That's like, when I see that, it's cringe. I'm not going to comment about it, but when I see it, I'm not going to engage with that. I can't look at that. Like seeing a tripod style speaker stand in 2026, it's just, to me, it's just so low budget. You know, like that was one of the first things I did once they became available. And I have two sets of Chave Flex stands. So those are basically heavy duty speaker stands that don't use a tripod. They use a 40-pound base plate, and then, you know, it has like a 8-foot speaker pole adjustable that mounts into the base plate. And on mine, I've actually added wheels. So now I can just roll my speakers around wherever they need to go. But when I see pictures of a DJ setup where they're using a tripod style bass. I lose my mind. I think it looks so bad. And now it's just like, you're wasting so much space with that. And then the DJs that put a cloth over it, like they cover it. Oh, we're not using some janky ass tripod for our speakers because we've covered it with a cloth. It just looks terrible. Yeah, get you some flex stands or some gravity stands. I mean, everybody makes them now on stage. Chavet's been making them for a while. I think it's Rockford. I can't think of. I think it's Rock something. Rockville Audio. They make bass stands, speaker stands, and lights. It works with lights and speakers. Get those, and I know they're like $200 per stand, or you can go buy 2 tripod speaker stands for $50. But if you're using a tripod speaker stand, don't post pictures. And don't say, hey, rate my setup. Because that looks terrible. Jeez. Get with 2026. I know I'm saying that too much, but it's really annoying to see that. And then for someone to think that they have a good setup. They're going to post a picture where they're using a tripod style speaker stand. Your setup looks awful if you use a tripod style speaker stand. It looks stupid. It's funny. Okay. You know what? I wish I had some pictures of my last setup. I just did a prom last weekend. And no tripod style anything for my lights, for my speakers. My lights are all mounted on a truss. It's a Chavet, what's called a goalpost. So it's like a big 10-foot high truss. And I think it spans like 14 feet wide. It's kind of a pain. It's work to set up. So the first thing DJs always will, and that's just more of my pet peeve. DJs will then hammer each other about cable management, right? So when someone's posting a picture of their setup, typically it's like with all the lights on, right? Not their DJ lights, but the lights on like in the ballroom or in the venue, right? They have all the venue lights on and they just take a picture of their setup. Well, here's the thing, other DJs that are whining about this. When it's time to DJ, when you're doing your set, all of the venue lights are not going to be on. The venue lights are most likely going to be turned down almost all the way or to a very dim state to where your DJ lights will kind of become the emphasis of the room lighting. And that means that most likely no one's going to see any of your cables, right? As long as you make your cables safe to where people aren't going to trip on them or accidentally unplug something. The whole cable management argument is just so played out. Like when I see DJ saying, oh, you really need to clean up your cabling. And I'm just thinking, when the event starts and the lights go down, no one's going to see the cabling. So who cares? I mean, you could clean up your cabling when you're DJing. Especially if like myself, I'm typically a solo. I'm doing the event solo, my wife will come and help me with a few things just to speed it up so I don't have to go so early. Plus I'm getting old. But, when you're just a solo DJ doing it all by yourself, especially when it comes to cable management, like if they're saying, oh, you got to tape all these wires down and bundle them up nicely, you're talking possibly another hour, right? Cleaning up all that cabling could take you another hour. to get it looking the way that these people in the comments want your cabling to look. And then guess what? When the lights go down, no one ever noticed anyway. Because you can't see the cables when it's dark, people. I know. I'm Debbie Downering. Oh, so yeah, that's just me. Now, so cable management, DJs are always going to complain about that. About other DJs. Now I get it. If you're doing if you're like charging $10,000 to DJ at a wedding, okay, get there 8 hours early and do your cables clean. You're getting paid $10,000, you know. If I had hired a DJ for $10,000, I would probably expect not to see a single cable. But, you know, unless you're like Tiesto and you're DJing someone's wedding, you're probably just getting paid a couple grand. So clean up your cables enough to where they're safe and don't worry about, you know, too much else. Now, let's go over to the other big complaint, which kind of ties into my last comment. How much you're getting paid. I always see DJs having this feud over how much to charge for events. And this thread recently caught my attention because a DJ posed the question, hey, I have a weekend where I'm not booked, like I don't have any gigs, kind of just lounging around, and I get a call for a last minute thing, but they don't have the biggest budget, and it's not like I would normally charge a little bit more. So, you know, this guy said I would probably charge $1,200 for this gig, but you know, this bride and groom only have $750 to pay for me to do a 4-hour wedding. And the guy's like, I'm probably going to go ahead and take it because, I mean, I'm not doing anything else. And I would just, you know, it'd be cool to just have an extra $750 in my pocket. And all these DJs started ripping into him. They're like, oh, dude, now they're going to go and tell everybody else that you'll do it for $750. So how are you ever going to get your $1,200 to $1,500? Oh, these DJs. Here's this thing. It made me think of the whole concept of Priceline. You know, Priceline basically came about because you have empty hotel rooms, or you have empty rental cars, or you have empty seats on an airplane. And what Priceline would do is come in at the last minute and say, hey, can I get that empty hotel room that you're normally going to charge $400 a night for? Can I get that empty hotel room for $75? And you know what would happen? The hotel would say, sure thing, because we'll take that $75. Or that rental car, you know, it's not going to get any money. It's not going to earn you any money because it's just sitting there in your rental car lot, not being used. So would you take $50 for it, you know, instead of the normal $99? Rental car company's like, sure. You know what? Give us the 50. Enjoy your ride. So when I see these DJs say, oh, dude, you can't take the $750 because, you know, now no one's going to pay you your $1,200 to $1,500. And see, the thing is, you know what? Just be clear with these people. Look, yes, I normally charge $1,500 for a wedding, So we're going to shave a little bit off of, off the top. We're going to, I might not wear a tuxedo, right? I might show up in just a polo and some khakis. I might not bring the massive truss with 14 lights mounted to it. I might just bring a few lights, a couple moving heads, and, some strobes and some uplights. So as long as you're providing, you still want to provide obviously great service. And I think at the end of the day, it's not the lights and everything that people remember. It's not how clean your cables were. It's were you a good, entertaining DJ, But my philosophy is, you know what? As long as you're healthy and it's not going to break your back and add to your medical bills to take a lower paying gig on a Saturday afternoon where you weren't doing anything anyway, take the damn money. I mean, if you DJ for the love of DJing, weddings are probably not what I would do anyway, though, because DJing a wedding is not about the love of music or DJing. DJing a wedding is a money grab. But there's this funny comment I always see. It's like, oh, you're just throwing your money away DJing a gig for half price. Like, what money are you throwing away? You've got thousands of dollars of gear sitting in your garage, not being used, collecting dust. So normally you charge $1,500 to pull that gear out and go play a gig. You're probably going to throw it into the back of your Tahoe. It's not like you're going out renting a U-Haul just to carry your gear. Most DJs already have a method of transportation. And, because I don't know too many DJs that can afford to rent a vehicle every time they DJ. I've filled up a Ford Pinto. I've filled up a Chevy Cavalier. I've had very small Isuzu Stylus. I've had very small vehicles. And you know what? You find a way. As the DJ, you find a way to get your gear to where it needs to be. You come up with very creative ways to pack that car. But yeah, I would just say, look, if it were me, I would take the wedding for $750. I would take the wedding for half my normal rate if I had nothing else going on, and sometimes you may just not feel like it. That's fine. If you don't feel like it, then why are you even thinking about it? If you're not in the mood, then don't do it. But, if you say, oh, dang, I would rather have $1,500. I don't want a DJ for $750 because now I'm losing $750. You're not losing $750. It was never your $750 to begin with. The $1,500 was never yours. You had no money coming in on this Saturday. And now all of a sudden you have the opportunity for $750. And yes, you have to work for it. You have to DJ. You have to set up your equipment, setting it up, packing it up, and then, kissing ass for 3 or 4 hours while you play music for a bride and a groom and their families. Okay. So you're earning that money, but, so you can either have no money and just sit there and watch, TV, watch some streaming and just relax. That could be valuable. That could be more valuable than $750 to some people. But I've actually thought about, I probably shouldn't go into too much detail. Don't want no one stealing my ideas, but I actually thought about creating a service, a DJ service where our main focus was to be there for people whose actual DJ canceled on them, or they, sprouted out some last minute event and they need a DJ. Something like on the spot DJs or something. And that would be our forte, is where we are just there to cover your, like unplanned circumstance and you needed a DJ. And again, we're not going to show up in tuxedos. We're not going to be building stages and doing all this fancy stuff. We will have ample sound. We'll have a couple wireless mics for you to use if you need to, make a speech or something. But yeah, and we'll play loud music, so you'll have that, and we will be there for you. In case your normal guy canceled on you or couldn't make it or had a conflict or whatever. Maybe he got in a car accident the day before and now he can't be there for your event. Don't steal my idea, internet. I'm still going to do that maybe. Actually, sometimes I'm only DJing like 6 times a year, and sometimes I feel like that's too much because it's really like when you're packing up at the end of a gig, you just want to get home and like you're not neatly wrapping up your wires. You're just throwing them all in crates. Yeah. So I think, man, do I want to keep doing this? Like, this is hard work, but I mean, I get some fulfillment out of it. I like DJing. It's tough nowadays, though, especially with the kids, because most of my events are high school, either homecomings or proms or similar events. And high school kids are unpredictable what they're going to want, like what they're going to ask for. Now, there is like a little contingent of music that they're always going to want. Like you can always play. Well, I guess depends on where you are, right? If you're in a suburb or beyond, so suburb or rural area, that you can play Cotton Eye Joe. You can play Party in the USA. You can play Kesha, like some Timber or stuff like that. Katy Perry, Fergalicious, Soulja Boy Tell 'em, Silento. Yeah, there's some guaranteed, like if you need a banger and you're in a suburb, or if you're in a rural area and you're DJing at a high school, throw on Fireball by Pitbull. Like, there you go. Thank you. I just packed your dance floor for you. It's very, there's some sure shots, That reminds me, I forgot to play. I wanted to play Chris Brown Forever at the prom I did last week, and I forgot to throw it on because it was 2.5 hours of playing music, because they have a ceremony that kind of eats into 30 minutes of my DJ time, which is fine. I mean, that's just less where I have to figure out what I'm going to play, but 2.5 hours, it's, there's a lot of sure things, right? There's music that you can definitely keep a suburban high school crowd occupied for 2.5 hours. Shouldn't be a problem for most experienced DJs. But there is sort of a recipe for it. It's not really creativity. You just read the crowd. But these high school kids, they don't care about mixing. They don't care. They actually don't like it. Like I could do a perfect mix from, like I could be playing Pitbull, like Hotel Room Service, And then I could just go right into something perfectly, like some Kesha or something. The mix could be perfect. Once they realize the song's changed, there's a moment where they're just like, what? What's happening here? Like a moment of disgust. And then they realize, oh, okay, well, I like Kesha. This is a banger, And then they get back to dancing. But for these high school kids, they want to hear the beginning of the song. Like if you're playing Kesha, they want to hear the whole, it's going down, I'm yelling timber. They want to hear that intro, and that's what gets them hyped up. Like if you mix into it, they're not going to hear some of those legendary beginnings of songs that they hear on the radio. So it's kind of like, it's like an oxymoron. DJs, especially old school DJs that spend all years and years, perfecting their mix craft and, when to blend songs and, bringing them in smoothly. Nowadays, these kids don't want that. They really just want what Spotify does. And it just play the song from beginning to end and then go on to the next song. So there you go, DJs. But yeah, when it comes to how much you charge, if you're not doing anything on a Saturday afternoon and your phone rings and says, hey, I got $750. I need a DJ for 4 hours. If your normal rate's $1,500, I don't know. It's up to you. I would take that though. I would take that $750 because you know what I would do with that $750? I would buy a brand new Shure wireless digital mic. Well, I'd probably do 2 gigs because I would want the dual handheld Shure digital. It's on sale right now at B&H for $12.99. I'll probably end up grabbing it, but I am kind of looking at my scheduled events. So I've got a prom coming up next weekend. So that would pay for most of it. But I also have to look at like what other events do I have? If I'm going to spend $1,300 on a new wireless mic set, I need some events to justify that. And so I think I need to just buy it and then worry about justifying it later. Well, I've got a prom coming up next weekend. Then I have my summer break. Like, unless I pick up a wedding or something, which I don't think I want to do. I've got a homecoming, and there's these 2 schools that I always do their homecoming every year, but for whatever reason, their homecomings are on the same night. So I had to tell one school I could not do their event. So I got one homecoming, and then I have, honestly, that's it. I have one homecoming scheduled right now. Had to turn one down. I might have a late year homecoming. There's a new school I started DJing at, which I really like. And it's even more rural, like further away. It's like a very small high school. Like they don't have a lot of, they might have like 250 kids in the entire high school. That's what, like 80 kids per grade. 8 times. Yeah. So that's a very small high school. Actually, I might be overestimating that. So I've been doing a couple of their events recently, but they haven't booked me yet for anything else. And so right now I've got 2 events. I've got a prom, a homecoming, and another prom that I've already booked I've already booked a prom for 2027. So really I have 3 events coming up. So I've already paid for, if I want to get this Shure, it's already kind of paid for with money I would be bringing in. So I may just bite the bullet. If I'm going to bite the bullet, though, I would want to bite the bullet right now and buy it like immediately, because I would want it here for next Saturday. Like, I don't want to spend $1,300 on this new mic set and it not be here for this event. Because this event is my next event, and then I'll have months of no events. So it would just be sitting there. I wouldn't even use it for like until October. Geez, if I bought it, let's say I bought it and it wasn't available for this event, so then I would have May, but it's on sale right now. So I'm afraid if I don't buy it right now, it's $330 off right now. So it's $12.99 at B&H, and it's the Shure, it's the Beta 87A handheld. So it's a dual set, digital. And I've had my Sennheiser handheld for so long, but man, I had a big blunder at an event recently where the battery went dead in the Sennheiser. And the problem with the analog mic is when the battery goes dead, it creates this static in the mic channel. And the static was so loud, it actually clipped my speakers, and they went into safety shutdown. So there was no music. It's kind of funny. I should play a little clip of that maybe next time. Okay, well, I guess that's my little spiel on my DJs arguing with each other in the comments. But yeah, DJs always chopping each other down. Come on, guys. Stop that. Don't do that. Unless you're using tripod speaker stands, come on. You got to get with 2026. Stop that. That's so ugly. That's so dangerous, ugly, space wasting. It's just bad at so many levels. Do better. Okay. Okay, I'm going to wrap. I'm going to go grab some breakfast because it is like 8:15 in the morning here in the Central Time Zone. But thanks for tuning in. I am glad you joined me, and maybe I'll catch you later. I might stream again once something else gets on my nerves. Don't forget to follow or subscribe, and throw a message down in the chat or the comments where you're watching from. It's always good to see. Thanks, everybody. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.